The Season 2 finale of The Gilded Age brought many of the show's central conflicts to a head, including whether or not the Academy or the Met would win the Opera War, who the Duke of Buckingham, Ben Lamb, would choose, whether Armstrong, Deborah Monk, would ever stop being a pill, and most importantly, if Larry Russell, Harry Richardson, and Marion Brooke, Louisa Jacobson, would ever get together. The moment finally arrived in the season's final scenes, and it wasn't a mere chaste brush of a gloved hand either. Standing on the doorstep of the Van Ryn household, Larry walked Marion home from a night at the opera in the early light of dawn. She promised that even with a move on the horizon, she would keep in touch with Larry. Larry's response was to kiss her, drawing a shy, pleased smile from Marion. Executive producer and writer Sonia Warfield tells EW that the romantic moment came after she directly solicited creator Julian Fellows. Julian had long game plans to get them together, she says. Back then everything was very chaste. You didn't really kiss somebody, you shook hands or something like that. So, I really did want Marion and Larry to kiss and asked Julian if they could please kiss at the end of the season. He granted me my wish. Though Warfield warns that if they do secure a Season 3, HBO has yet to order more of The Gilded Age, it won't just be smooth sailing through the tunnel of love. Even if Marion will now have a newly empowered Ada Cynthia Nixon on her side against what will no doubt be objections from Agnes Christine Baranski. Relationships had their challenges in 1884, and they do today, she says. The modern challenges aren't that different from those challenges. Yes, we're rooting for them. But everything will be complicated. EW got Warfield to break down more of the finale, including Peggy's, Denise Benton, decision to leave the paper, Ada's sudden new wealth and its implications, and the possibility that Bertha Russell Carey Coon has sold her daughter, Gladys, to Issa Farmiga, to a duke solely to win a society war with Mrs. Astor, Donna Murphy, thought Sonia Warfield, because that's drama. And back then, most of the time when people had an ache or a pain, it did mean death. I wanted to disrupt the status quo with Ada. I just adore Cynthia Nixon, and her performance was mesmerizing to me, so I wanted her to be empowered to have a love. Agnes is oppressive, and so, I wanted for her to have love, and to feel loved and to understand how that helped her in the world. The heart of the show, it's about the warring classes, and Ada and Agnes represent that old money, and so, they need to remain intact. That's why he couldn't stay. Peggy decides to leave the Fortune, Sullivan Jones, paper. What will that mean for her future? She talks about a novel, but being a journalist seems like such a core part of her identity right now. In that time period, a lot of women were writing serialized stories for newspapers, so Peggy's done some of that too. There's versatility in her writing and in her work. Listen, Fortune is great, but he's a bad influence. He drinks a little bit, he's married. Peggy has a whole future ahead of her anywhere she wants to be. So I'm excited for her. Will she be able to stay away though? We shall see. He is pretty cute. Watson, Michael Cerveris, gets this happy ending where he's going to actually go and have a life with his daughter. Will we continue to follow him and how that develops in the future? Or once he leaves the Russell household, will we not really check in with him? Now, he's going to be living as a gentleman. We've already seen Turner, Kelly Curran, crossover. Anything's possible in America at that time. Speaking of Turner, we learn in the climax of the finale that both Bertha and George did her dirty behind the scenes, both with the opera box and learning that Bertha wrote Mrs. Astor to get the new Mrs. Winterton kicked out of the Academy. If there is a Season 3, how might that come back to bite them? Listen, she'll be conniving to take Bertha down. Turner, or Mrs. Winterton, will be in her orbit. There are crimes of opportunity that Turner will be looking out for wherever she can catch Bertha out. And remember, she was the maid, and the maids know everything. One has to assume she already is blaming the Russells for everything. Oh, absolutely. She's a smart cookie. She knows what's going on.